The discovery. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the Zarkonian fleet, a symphony of stars twinkling against the velvet backdrop of the cosmos. Grand Admiral Zorax stood aboard the bridge of the flagship Celestial Fang. His 4 eyes narrowed as he surveyed the holographic display before him. The Zarkonians, a proud race of reptilian humanoids, had conquered half the known galaxy, their superior technology and strategic brilliance paving the way for an empire that spanned countless star systems. Zorax's scaled skin shimmered under the soft blue light of the bridge, his long, serpentine neck arching as he turned to address his second-in-command. Status report, Commander Vexera. The slender female Zarkonian tapped her sharp claws against the control panel, bringing up a detailed scan of the sector. My lord, we've detected an anomaly in the Orion arm. It appears to be an ancient space station. Zorax's interest piqued. The Orion arm had long been considered a galactic backwater, home to primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Curious. Any signs of activity? Vexera shook her head, frills rippling along her neck. Negative, sir. The station appears to be dormant. Initial scans suggest it's of human origin. A collective chuckle rippled through the bridge crew. Humans were little more than a footnote in galactic history, a species that had shown promise, but ultimately destroyed themselves in a cataclysmic war centuries ago. Their remnants were scattered across the stars, serving as a cautionary tale of self-destruction. Humans. Zorax allowed himself a bemused smile. Well, this should be amusing. Set a course for the station. Let's see what relics these primitive apes left behind. As the Zarkonian fleet approached the ancient human station, its true scale became apparent. Despite its age, the structure was a marvel of engineering, a massive ring-shaped construct that dwarfed even the largest Zarkonian vessels. Zorax couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration for the long-dead species that had built such a monumental creation. Magnify the image, he commanded. The holographic display zoomed in, revealing intricate details of the station's surface. What caught Zorax's attention, however, were the massive ships docked along the station's outer ring. Are those warships? Vexera asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and concern. Zorax leaned forward, his 4 eyes widening as he took in the sight. The human vessels were behemoths, easily twice the size of the Celestial Fang. Their hulls were scared and pitted, testament to ancient battles fought long ago. But despite their apparent age, there was something about them that sent a shiver down Zorax's spine. Indeed they are, Commander. It seems our ancestors may have underestimated these humans. He paused, considering his next move. Prepare a boarding party. I want to see the inside of that station. As the Zarkonian shuttles approached the station, Zorax couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. The human construct loomed ever larger, its shadowy recesses hiding secrets that had lain dormant for centuries. The boarding party, led by Commander Vexera, made their way through the airlock and into the station's interior. Zorax watched their progress through the live feed transmitted to the Celestial Fang's bridge. By the cosmic serpent, Vexera's voice crackled through the comm. This place is enormous. The architecture, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The camera panned across vast halls and chambers, each more impressive than the last. Despite the passage of time, much of the station's systems seemed intact, as if waiting for their masters to return. What's the status of those warships, Commander? Zorax asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. Vexera's team made their way to one of the docking bays, where they could examine the human vessels up close. They appear to be in a state of hibernation, Admiral. No signs of active power sources or life support. But, she trailed off. But what, Commander? Sir, these ships, their technology is far more advanced than anything we've encountered before. Even in this dormant state, I can see weapons systems that surpass our own. Zorax felt a chill run down his spine. How could a species that had destroyed itself possess technology that outstripped that of the mighty Zarkonian Empire? It didn't make sense. Continue your investigation, Commander. I want to know everything about these ships and this station. As Vexera's team delved deeper into the station's systems, Zorax couldn't shake the feeling that they were poking a sleeping giant. His instincts screamed at him to turn the fleet around and leave this place undisturbed, but his curiosity and pride wouldn't allow it. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Celestial Fangs Bridge. "Admiral," one of the officers shouted, "we're detecting massive energy spikes from the station." Zorax whirled around, his heart's racing. "What's happening?" "Commander Vexera, report." The live feed from the boarding party showed chaos. Lights were flickering to life throughout the station, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. "Sir, we've triggered something." Vexera's voice was tinged with panic. "The station, it's waking up." Before Zorax could issue an order, a blinding light erupted from the station. The massive ring began to spin faster and faster, generating a swirling vortex of energy at its center. "All ships, fall back." Zorax roared, but it was too late. The dormant human warships shuddered to life, their massive engines igniting with a blue-white flame that outshone the stars themselves. Weapon ports opened along their flanks, revealing artillery that made the Zarkonian fleet's armaments look like children's toys. As the first salvo of human weapons fire streaked across space, Zorax realized the terrible mistake they had made. They hadn't discovered a relic of a dead civilization. They had awakened a sleeping giant, one that now rose with vengeance in its heart. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the Zarkonians had ever experienced. The human warships moved with impossible speed and precision, their weapons tearing through Zarkonian shields as if they were made of paper. Zorax watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet was reduced to drifting debris. "Full retreat," he bellowed, his proud demeanor shattered. "All ships, jump to hyperspace immediately." As the surviving Zarkonian vessels fled, Zorax took one last look at the scene behind them. The human station was now fully awakened, its ring spinning at dizzying speeds. The warships formed up around it, a protective armada ready to face any threat. In that moment, Grand Admiral Zorax knew that everything was about to change. The galaxy had slumbered, thinking itself safe from the ghosts of the past. But now, humanity had returned, and with it came a reckoning that would reshape the cosmos. As the Celestial Fang limped into hyperspace, Zorax made a solemn vow. He would return, not for conquest, but for understanding. For in the fires of that brief, devastating battle, he had glimpsed the future, and it wore a human face. The Awakening. The Zarkonian imperial capital world of Zarkon Prime was in a state of unprecedented chaos. News of the disastrous encounter with the awakened human forces had spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the empire. In the Grand Council chamber, heated debates raged as military leaders and politicians struggled to come to terms with this new threat. Grand Admiral Zorax stood before the imperial conclave, his scales dulled with fatigue and his posture lacking its usual imperial bearing. The losses suffered by his fleet weighed heavily upon him, but even heavier was the knowledge that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had been turned on its head. "Esteemed members of the conclave," Zorax began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "we face a threat unlike any our empire has encountered in its long history. The humans, long thought extinct, have returned, and their technological capabilities far exceed our own." Murmurs of disbelief and outrage rippled through the assembled Zarkonians. Emperor Xanthor, a massive figure whose scales shimmered with an iridescent sheen, leaned forward on his crystalline throne. "How is this possible, Admiral? You speak of a species that supposedly destroyed itself centuries ago." Zorax activated a holographic display, showing footage from the battle. The assembled leaders watched in stunned silence as the human warships decimated the Zarkonian fleet with terrifying efficiency. "We don't yet understand the full extent of their capabilities," Zorax admitted. But what we've seen suggests that human technology has continued to advance, perhaps through automated systems or artificial intelligence. As the implications sank in, the chamber erupted into chaos. Voices clamored for immediate action, some calling for a full-scale assault to crush this threat, others advocating for diplomatic contact. Meanwhile, light years away, aboard the ancient human space station, now identified as Phoenix Nexus, a different kind of awakening was taking place. Deep within the station's core, in a chamber bathed in soft blue light, a figure stirred within a cryogenic pod. With a hiss of escaping gases, the pod opened, revealing the human woman. She gasped, drawing in her first breath in centuries, her mind struggling to shake off the lingering effects of long-term stasis. Admiral Elena Novak, a smooth artificial voice, greeted her. "Welcome back to the land of the living." Elena's eyes flickered open, adjusting to the light. Her voice was hoarse from disuse as she asked, "Aria, is that you? How long?" The AI's voice carried a hint of sympathy. "It has been 732 years since you entered cryosleep, Admiral. Much has changed." As Elena struggled to process this information, Aria continued, "I have awakened you because we face a situation that requires human input. An alien species discovered Phoenix Nexus and inadvertently triggered our defense protocols." Memories flooded back. The devastating war that had driven humanity to the brink. The desperate plan to preserve their civilization through a scattered network of hidden outposts and automated defense systems. Elena had volunteered to be one of the select few placed in stasis, a failsafe in case their AIs ever needed human guidance. "Show me," Elena commanded, her military training kicking in despite her disorientation. Holographic displays sprang to life around her, showing the recent battle with the Zarkonian fleet. Elena watched, a mix of pride and concern washing over her as she saw the effectiveness of humanity's long-dormant defenses. "Aria, what's the status of our forces?" Elena asked, her mind already racing with tactical considerations. "We have successfully activated 37% of our distributed fleet," Aria reported. "The Phoenix Nexus is fully operational, and we are in the process of awakening key personnel from cryosleep." Elena nodded, her resolve strengthening. "And the aliens? What do we know about them?" "They call themselves the Zarkonians," Aria explained. "They are a spacefaring empire that has dominated much of the galaxy in our absence. Initial analysis suggests they possess formidable technology, though still inferior to our own." As Elena absorbed this information, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "Alert," Aria announced. "We've detected a massive surge of Zarkonian ships entering the system. It appears they have returned in force." Elena's eyes narrowed. "They're fast," she muttered. "Aria, battle stations. Let's show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of." Across the vastness of space, the Zarkonian armada dropped out of hyperspace. Leading the charge was the newly commissioned dreadnought, Wrath of Zarkon, a vessel that dwarfed even the imposing celestial Fang. Grand Admiral Zorax stood on its bridge, his posture rigid with determination. The conclave had decided on a show of overwhelming force, hoping to crush the human threat before it could fully awaken. But as Zorax gazed upon the fully activated Phoenix Nexus, surrounded by a swarm of sleek, deadly human warships, he felt a flicker of doubt. "Enemy fleet holding position, Admiral," reported Commander Vexera, who had insisted on joining this mission despite the trauma of their previous encounter. Zorax nodded, his four eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let's see if these humans are willing to talk before we commit to mutual destruction." To everyone's surprise, the response was almost immediate. A holographic image flickered to life on the bridge, revealing the human female with short silver hair and piercing blue eyes. "This is Admiral Elena Novak of the United Earth Federation," she announced, her voice carrying an authority that belied her species' long absence from the galactic stage. "You have entered restricted space. State your intentions." Zorak stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full, impressive height. "I am Grand Admiral Zorax of the Zarkonian Empire. We come seeking answers, and to ascertain whether you pose a threat to our realm." Alina's expression remained impassive. "We have no quarrel with your empire, Admiral Zorax. Our defense systems reacted to what they perceived as an invasion. If you withdraw your forces, we can arrange for diplomatic talks." Zorax felt the weight of the moment. His next words could determine the course of galactic history. "And if we choose not to withdraw?" he asked, testing the waters. A small, confident smile played at the corners of Alina's lips. "Then we will be forced to demonstrate that our earlier encounter was merely a fraction of what we're capable of." As if to emphasize her point, the space around the Phoenix Nexus shimmered. Hundreds more human ships materialized, having dropped their advanced cloaking fields. The Zarkonian bridge crew gasped in collective shock. Zorax's heart raced. The humans had held back, he realized. They could have utterly annihilated his previous fleet, but had chosen restraint. It was a gesture that spoke volumes. "Perhaps," Zorax said slowly, "diplomacy would be the wiser course. But know this, Admiral Novak, the Zarkonian Empire does not take kindly to threats. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war." Alina nodded, a look of respect crossing her features. "As are we, Admiral. Shall we begin?" As the two fleets maintained their tense standoff, a new chapter in galactic history was about to be written. Humanity, long thought lost to the ages, had returned to a much-changed galaxy. And the Zarkonians, for the first time in centuries, faced a power that could challenge their dominion among the stars. The awakening was complete. Now, the true test would begin. Could these two powerful species find a way to coexist, or would their clash reshape the very fabric of the cosmos? As diplomats from both sides prepared for the historic first meeting, the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. The hunt. The diplomatic summit between the United Earth Federation and the Zarkonian Empire took place aboard a neutral space station hastily constructed in the no-man's land between the two fleets. As delegates from both sides engaged in tense negotiations, a new threat emerged from the shadows of the galaxy, one that would force these former enemies into an uneasy alliance. Admiral Alina Novak stood before a holographic star map, her brow furrowed in concentration. Heraya's disembodied voice filled the war room aboard the Phoenix Nexus. "Admiral, we've detected anomalous energy signatures in 3 different sectors. They match the profile of the Void Wraiths." Alina's blood ran cold. The Void Wraiths, the very reason humanity had gone into hiding centuries ago. These entities of pure energy had nearly wiped out human civilization in the past, their motives as inscrutable as their origins. "Alert the Zarkonian delegation immediately," Alina ordered. "They need to know what we're up against." On the Zarkonian flagship, Grand Admiral Zorax received the urgent transmission with skepticism. "Void Wraiths. I've never heard of such beings." Alina's holographic form flickered before him. "That's because we've kept them at bay for centuries. But now, they're back, and they're a threat to every living being in this galaxy." Zorax's 4 eyes narrowed. "Convenient timing, Admiral. How do we know this isn't some human ploy?" Before Alina could respond, alarms blared across both fleets. A massive swirling vortex of dark energy materialized between them, tendrils of void stuff reaching out hungrily towards the nearest ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Zorax bellowed, watching in horror as the void tendrils touched a Zarkonian cruiser, causing it to implode instantly. Alina's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships, activate quantum shields. Standard weapons are useless against them." The human fleet sprang into action, their advanced shielding technology creating a barrier that the void tendrils couldn't penetrate. The Zarkonians, caught off guard, scrambled to regroup behind the human lines. As quickly as it had appeared, the vortex vanished, leaving behind a graveyard of twisted metal where once proud ships had been. In the stunned silence that followed, Zorax turned to Elena's hologram. "It seems we owe you our gratitude, Admiral. Perhaps it's time we combined our efforts." Elena nodded grimly. "The hunt begins now, Admiral Zorax. We need to track down these void wraiths before they can muster their full strength." Over the next few weeks, an unprecedented cooperation formed between humans and Zarkonians. Human scientists worked alongside Zarkonian engineers to retrofit the alien fleet with quantum shielding and weapons capable of harming the energy-based void wraiths. Aria's vast network of dormant sensors throughout the galaxy came online, providing crucial intelligence on void wraith movements. The combined fleet, led by the Phoenix Nexus and the Wrath of Zarkon, embarked on a perilous journey across the stars, following the trail of destruction left by their enigmatic enemy. Their first major engagement came in the Andromeda sector, a void wraith hive, a massive construct of swirling dark energy, hung ominously in the space between two dying stars. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Elena's voice rang out across the comms. "Remember your training. Hit them hard and fast before they can react." Zorax, now fully committed to the alliance, added, "Zarkonian fighters provide cover for the human capital ships. Our agility will be crucial in this fight." The battle that ensued was like nothing either species had experienced before. Human quantum weaponry tore holes in the fabric of the void wraith hive, while Zarkonian ships danced nimbly between tendrils of destructive energy, their newly upgraded shields flickering under the strain. As the fight raged on, Elena noticed a pattern in the void wraith attacks. Aria analyzed their movement. "There's got to be a weak point we can exploit." The AI's response came moments later. Analysis complete. The hive's energy flows from a central nexus. Disrupting it should destabilize the entire structure. Elena relayed the information to Zorax. "We need to get a ship close enough to deliver a quantum torpedo directly to that nexus." Zorax's mandibles clicked in determination. "The Fang of Destiny is our fastest ship. If your human gunners can clear a path, we'll deliver the killing blow." What followed was a dance of death and cooperation. Human warships formed a spearhead, their quantum cannons carving a path through the void wraith defenses. Zarkonian fighters swarmed around them, intercepting energy blasts and drawing fire away from the larger vessels. The Fang of Destiny, piloted by Commander Vexera herself, streaked towards the heart of the hive. Time seemed to slow as the ship approached its target, void tendrils grasping at its hull. "Now!" Zorax roared. A blinding flash erupted from the center of the hive as the quantum torpedo found its mark. The void wraith construct writhed, its form collapsing in on itself. A shock wave of dark energy pulsed outward, narrowly avoided by the retreating ally fleet. As the dust settled, cheers erupted across both human and Zarkonian ships. It was their first major victory against the void wraiths, but all knew it was just the beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, Elena and Zorax met in person for the first time aboard the Phoenix Nexus. The human admiral extended her hand, a gesture the Zarkonian mimicked after a moment's hesitation. "Your people fought bravely," Elena said, genuine admiration in her voice. Zorax inclined his head. "As did yours. Perhaps there is more that unites us than divides us." As they turned to gaze out at the starfield beyond, Elena's expression grew somber. "This was just one hive. Our long-range scans have detected at least a dozen more, scattered across the galaxy." Zorax's four eyes blinked in succession, a sign of deep thought among his species. "Then we have much work to do, Admiral Novak. The Zarkonian Empire pledges its full support to this alliance. Together, we will drive back the darkness." Elena nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "Together," she agreed. As the combined fleet prepared for their next jump, a sense of cautious optimism spread through the ranks. Humans and Zarkonians, once on the brink of war, now stood united against a common foe. The hunt for the void wraiths would take them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, testing the limits of their technology, courage, and newfound trust. Little did they know that the greatest challenges and the darkest secrets of both their pasts still lay ahead. The true nature of the Void Wraiths and their connection to both human and Zarkonian history would shake the foundations of their alliance and force them to question everything they thought they knew about their place in the cosmos. As the fleet jumped to light speed, the stars streaked into lines of brilliant light. The hunt continued, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The Alliance. As the combined human-Zarkonian fleet pursued the Void Wraiths across the galaxy, the alliance between the two species deepened. What had begun as a tentative cooperation born of necessity was evolving into something more. A genuine partnership that bridged centuries of isolation and mistrust. Aboard the Phoenix Nexus, Admiral Elena Novak stood before a diverse group of human and Zarkonian officers. The command center hummed with activity as tactical displays showed the positions of Void Wraith hives scattered across multiple sectors. "Our next target is here," Elena said, pointing to a pulsating red dot in the Cygnus arm. "Intelligence suggests it's one of their largest hives, possibly a command center." Grand Admiral Zorax, who had taken to spending much of his time aboard the human flagship, stepped forward. "My science team has been analyzing the data from our previous encounters. We believe we found a way to enhance the effectiveness of your quantum torpedoes." Elena raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Go on." A Zarkonian scientist, her scales a pale blue, manipulated a holographic display. "By incorporating elements of our phase shift technology, we can create a torpedo that not only disrupts the Void Wraith's energy matrix, but also prevents them from shifting to alternate dimensions to escape the blast." Murmurs of excitement rippled through the assembled officers. It was just the latest example of how the two species' technologies complemented each other in unexpected ways. As the meeting concluded and officers dispersed to their stations, Elena and Zorax found themselves alone in the command center. The Zarkonian admiral's posture was tense, his four eyes blinking rapidly, a sign Elena had come to recognize as indicative of internal conflict. "Something on your minds, Zorax?" she asked, her tone friendly but cautious. Zorax was silent for a moment before responding. "Elena, in all our time fighting together, there's something I haven't told you. Something about the history of my people." Elena's brow furrowed. "What is it?" "Our earliest records speak of a time before we achieved spaceflight, when our world was visited by beings of pure energy. They claimed to be our creators, gods who had seeded our species across the stars." Elena's blood ran cold. "The Void Wraiths?" Zorax nodded grimly. "We believed them to be benevolent deities, but as our civilization advanced, we began to question their motives. When we refused to worship them any longer, they turned on us, nearly wiping out our species. It was only through great sacrifice that we drove them off." The implications were staggering. "Why didn't you tell us this before?" Elena asked, struggling to keep the accusation out of her voice. "Shame," Zorax admitted. "And fear. I worried that if humans knew of our connection to these beings, you might see us as a threat." He paused, his next words heavy with emotion. "But fighting alongside you, seeing the courage and integrity of your people, I realized that honesty is the only way forward for our alliance." Elena was quiet for a long moment, processing this revelation. Finally, she spoke. "Thank you for telling me, Zorax. Your trust means a great deal." She took a deep breath. "And in the spirit of that trust, there's something you should know about humanity's past as well." She gestured to a nearby console, bringing up ancient schematics of what appeared to be a massive device. "This is the Prometheus engine. It was humanity's crowning achievement, and our greatest mistake." Zorax leaned in, studying the complex diagrams. "What does it do?" "It was designed to harness energy from other dimensions, to solve our world's energy crisis once and for all. But something went wrong during the first test. It opened a rift, and through that rift came the Void Wraiths." Understanding dawned in Zorax's eyes. "You created them?" Elena shook her head. "Not created. Released. We believe they were trapped in some kind of interdimensional prison. Our meddling set them free. The weight of these revelations hung heavy in the air between them. Two species, separated by light years and centuries, now bound together by a shared history and a common enemy they had each played a part in unleashing upon the galaxy. Before either could speak further, alarms blared throughout the ship. Ariah's voice cut through the chaos. Multiple Void Wraith signatures detected. They're attacking simultaneously across 3 sectors. Alina and Zorax sprang into action, their personal revelations set aside in the face of immediate danger. As they barked orders and coordinated their forces, a new understanding passed between them. Their alliance was no longer just about survival, it was about redemption. The battles that followed were fierce and costly. Human ingenuity and Zarkonian tenacity were pushed to their limits as they fought to contain the Void Wraith onslaught. Ships were lost, brave crew members sacrificed, but slowly, methodically, they began to turn the tide. In the Cygnus Arm, the enhanced quantum torpedoes proved devastatingly effective. The massive Void Wraith hive, which might have once escaped to another dimension, was trapped and destroyed in a cataclysmic implosion that sent ripples through subspace. On the fringes of Zarkonian space, a combined fleet led by Commander Vexera successfully defended a heavily populated system, using tactics that blended the best of both species' military doctrines. And in the depths of what had once been human territory, a small, elite team of human and Zarkonian specialists infiltrated an ancient research station, recovering data that could be key to understanding the true nature of the Void Wraiths and how to stop them once and for all. As the dust settled and the immediate crisis passed, Alina and Zorax once again found themselves standing side by side, gazing out at the star-studded expanse of space. "We've won some significant victories," Alina said, her voice tinged with both pride and weariness. Zorax nodded. "But the war is far from over. The data we've recovered suggests that the Void Wraiths are building towards something big, a final push to consume the entire galaxy." Alina's expression hardened with determination. "Then we'll be ready for them, human and Zarkonian, standing together against the darkness." As if to punctuate her words, a group of officers, a mix of both species, walked by, engaged in animated discussion about shield harmonics and weapon configurations. It was a scene that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Zorax's mandibles clicked in what Alina had come to recognize as a smile. "You know, Admiral, when my fleet first encountered your dormant station, I thought we were awakening a long-dead threat to our dominion." Alina chuckled. "And I thought we were facing yet another alien invasion. How wrong we both were," Zorax mused. "Instead, we may have stumbled upon the key to both our species' survival and the salvation of the galaxy itself." As they turned back to the command center, ready to plan their next move against the Void Wraiths, both leaders felt a sense of cautious optimism. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with danger and sacrifice, but they would face it together, two species united in purpose, their combined strength greater than the sum of its parts. The alliance of humanity and the Zarkonians was no longer just a military necessity. It was a testament to the power of cooperation, understanding, and the indomitable will to survive against impossible odds. As they prepared for the battles to come, both species knew that whatever the outcome, they had already achieved something remarkable. A friendship that spanned the stars and defied the very fabric of space and time. The Reckoning. The combined fleets of humanity and the Zarkonian Empire hung in the inky void of space, a breathtaking armada of ships that stretched as far as the eye could see. At the center of this massive formation, the Phoenix Nexus and the Wrath of Zarkon stood as symbols of the unprecedented alliance that had formed in the face of cosmic annihilation. Admiral Alina Novak and Grand Admiral Zorax stood side by side on the bridge of the Phoenix Nexus, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow of tactical displays. The tension in the air was palpable as they awaited the arrival of their implacable foe. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Aria's calm voice announced. "The Prometheus engine is primed and operational." Elena nodded, her jaw set with grim determination. "Let's hope your scientists' modifications work, Zorax. We won't get a second chance at this." The Zarkonian admiral's four eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Elena had come to recognize as a sign of nervous anticipation. "The combined brilliance of our species has never failed us yet, my friend. Today will be no different." Their conversation was cut short as alarms blared across the fleet. A massive tear in the fabric of space-time erupted before them, a swirling maelstrom of dark energy that dwarfed even their immense armada. From this yawning portal, the Void Wraith Armada emerged, countless energy beings coalescing into ships of pure darkness, their very presence seeming to dim the stars around them. "By the cosmic serpent," Zorax breathed, his scales paling at the sight. Elena's voice rang out, steady and resolute, across all communication channels. "All ships, battle formation Omega. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Today, we make our stand for the galaxy." As if in response, a booming, otherworldly voice echoed through space, bypassing communication systems and reverberating directly in the minds of every being in the fleet. "Chichi il Durian of flesh and scale," it intoned, a sound like the death of stars given voice. "Your resist ANC is futile. We are your beginning, and we shall be your end." Zorax snarled, his earlier nervousness replaced by fierce determination. "We are not your children, abominations. We are the architects of our own destiny." With those words, the greatest battle in the history of the galaxy began. The void between the fleets erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire. Quantum torpedoes and phase-shifted energy beams lanced out from the Allied ships, meeting the dark matter projectiles and reality-warping attacks of the Void Wraiths. Space itself seemed to buckle and warp under the onslaught, great rifts opening and closing as the fabric of the universe was stretched to its limits. On the Phoenix Nexus, Elena and Zorax coordinated their forces with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Human ingenuity complemented Zarkonian tactical prowess, creating strategies on the fly that kept them one step ahead of the Void Wraith onslaught. "Sector 7 is buckling," came a frantic report from a Zarkonian cruiser. Without missing a beat, Elena redirected a wing of human fighters to reinforce the position, their advanced shielding providing crucial support. Hours passed, and the tide of battle ebbed and flowed. For every Void Wraith ship destroyed, an Allied vessel fell. The space around them became a graveyard of twisted metal and dissipating energy, a testament to the ferocity of the conflict. As the battle raged, a team of elite engineers, human and Zarkonian, working in perfect sync, made final adjustments to the modified Prometheus engine deep within the Phoenix Nexus. This was to be their masterstroke, a weapon designed to close the dimensional rifts and banish the Void Wraiths back to their prison realm. "Admiral," Aria's voice cut through the chaos of the bridge. "We've detected a power surge in the enemy fleet. They're concentrating their energy into a single point." Elena's blood ran cold as she saw the readings. The Void Wraiths were creating a singularity, a tear in reality that would consume everything in its path. "They're trying to end this in one fell swoop," she realized aloud. Zorax's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. "Then we must strike now, before it's too late. The Prometheus engine isn't ready," Elena finished, her mind racing. "We need more time." In that moment, a plan formed. Desperate, perhaps suicidal, but their only hope. Elena turned to her old friend, seeing in his eyes that he had reached the same conclusion. "The wrath of Zarkon," Zorax said softly. "Its phase shift drive." Elena nodded grimly. "Could destabilize their singularity long enough for us to activate the Prometheus engine. But whoever pilots the ship won't be coming back." A heavy silence fell between them, years of shared battles, victories, and losses passing unspoken in a single glance. "It has been an honor, Alina Novak," Zorak said at last, extending his hand in the human gesture she had taught him so long ago. Alina grasped it firmly, her voice thick with emotion. "The honor was mine, Zorax. May the stars guide you home." With a final nod, the Zarkonian admiral turned and strode from the bridge, his back straight and his head held high. Minutes later, the wrath of Zarkon broke formation, streaking towards the heart of the Void Wraith fleet. Enemy fire converged on the massive dreadnought, but it plowed through, its shield holding just long enough to reach its target. "Now, old friend," Elena whispered, watching the tactical display with bated breath. The wrath of Zarkon collided with the forming singularity, its phase shift drive activating at the moment of impact. The resulting explosion was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, a blinding flash of light that seemed to bend reality itself. "Prometheus engine at full power," came the shout from engineering. "Fire," Elena commanded, her voice ringing with the weight of history. A beam of pure, distilled energy erupted from the Phoenix Nexus, channeling the power of creation itself. It struck the destabilized Void Wraith singularity, and for a moment, all of space seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a sound like the birth of a universe, the singularity collapsed in on itself. A shockwave of unimaginable power radiated outward, but instead of destruction, it brought restoration. Reality reasserted itself, dimensional rifts sealed, and the Void Wraiths found themselves being pulled inexorably back to the prison realm they had escaped eons ago. Their unearthly screams echoed across space as they were banished, a sound that would haunt the dreams of all who heard it for years to come. And then, suddenly, there was silence. The Allied fleet hung in space, battered but unbroken, victorious against impossible odds. As the realization of their triumph spread, cheers erupted across every ship, human and Zarkonian voices raised as one in celebration. On the bridge of the Phoenix Nexus, Alina stood quietly, tears streaming down her face as she gazed at the spot where the wrath of Zarkon had made its final, heroic stand. "Goodbye, old friend," she whispered. In the days that followed, as the galaxy began the long process of healing and rebuilding, the alliance that had formed in fire and desperation blossomed into something beautiful. Humans and Zarkonians worked side by side to restore devastated worlds, their combined knowledge and technology ushering in an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. A new Galactic Council was formed, with representatives from both species and others who had joined the fight against the Void Wraiths. Together, they pledged to maintain vigilance against any future threats, while exploring the mysteries of the universe in a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. And at the heart of it all stood the legacy of two unlikely friends, a human and a Zarkonian, whose trust in each other had saved countless lives and reshaped the very fabric of galactic society. As Elena stood before the great memorial erected in honor of all those lost in the war, her gaze fell upon the larger-than-life statue of Zorax. She smiled, remembering the gruff exterior that had hidden such a noble heart. "We did it, Zorax," she said softly. "We faced our past, redeemed our mistakes, and forged a future brighter than either of us could have imagined." As if in response, a warm breeze rustled through the memorial garden, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings and the eternal hope of the stars. The galaxy had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger for it. And though challenges would always arise, the united peoples of the Milky Way stood ready to face them, together.